Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome back to the daily readings of Srila Prabhupada's books here in the live studios of Radha Lane, Houston, Texas, just down the footpath from Sri Sri Radha Nilamadava's beautiful temple. We have a room full of Vaishnavas eager to hear. And they're increasing by the moment. We've missed you. Hare Krishna. Okay, welcome all of you out in cyberspace. We're coming to the end of the 5th canto. We're moving right along, actually, towards the 10th canto. Just moving right along, chapter to chapter, verse to verse, chapter to chapter, canto to canto. Busy making progress. Okay, let's hear Srila Sanatana Goswami's prayer glorifying the Srimad-Bhagavatam. Srimad-Bhagavatam Mahima Stotram Ki Jai. Goes like this. Sarva Shastra Vipiyusha Sarva Vedaika Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnavya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada. O nectar from the ocean of all scriptures, singular fruit of all the Vedas, rich mine of the precious gems of all conclusive truths, you are the only giver of sight to all the worlds. Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabho Kalidwando Didaditya Shri Krishna Parivartita. O life air of all the Supreme Lord's devotees, O Master Srimad Bhagavatam, you are the sun risen in the darkness of Kali. You are the exact image of Sri Krishna. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshakshadayate Sarvada Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostume. I bow down to you, who is supremely blissful to read. Your every syllable pours down a flood of prema. You can always be served by everyone. You are Sri Krishna himself. Marika Bando Matsangin Madgudo Man Mahadana Man Nistadagamad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute. My only friend, my constant companion, my spiritual master, my great wealth, my savior, my good fortune, my source of ecstasy, I bow down to you. Asadu sadhu tadayin atini chochata kara anamun shagadashin mam premnarit kantayospura. O bestower of saintliness to the unsaintly, O exalter of the most fallen, please never leave me. Always appear in my heart and my voice with pure love. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, Canto 5, Chapter 25. What's the title of the chapter?
Glories of Lord Ananta.
Glories of Lord Ananta. And we're beginning with text 9. By his glance, the Supreme Personality of Godhead enables the modes of material nature to act as the causes of the universal creation, maintenance, and destruction. The Supreme Soul is unlimited and beginningless. And although he is one, he has manifested himself in many forms. How can human society understand the ways of the Supreme? Purport. From Vedic literature, we understand that when the Supreme Lord glances, saikshata, over the material energy, the 3 modes of material nature become manifest and create material variety. Before he glances over the material energy, there is no possibility of the creation, maintenance, and annihilation of the material world. The Lord existed before the creation, and consequently, He is eternal and unchanging. Therefore, how can any human being, however great a scientist or philosopher he may be, understand the ways of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The following quotations from Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adikanda 148 through 52 and 158 through 69 tell of the glories of Lord Ananta. Ki Brahma, ki Shiva, ki Sanakati Kumara, Vyasa Shuka Naradadi, Bhakti Nama Yar. Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, the four Kumaras, Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanandana, and Sanat Kumara, Vyasadeva, Shukadev Goswami, and Narada are all pure devotees, eternal servants of the Lord. Sabhara Pujita Srinananda Mahashaya, Sahasra Vadana Prabhu, Bhakti Rasamaya. Lord Sri Ananta is worshipped by all the uncontaminated devotees mentioned above. He has thousands of hoods and is the reservoir of all devotional service. Adideva Mahayogi Ishwara Vaishnava Mahimara Anta Iha Najanaya Sabha. Lord Ananta is the original person and the great mystic controller. At the same time, he is a servant of God, a Vaishnava. Since there is no end to his glories, no one can understand him fully. Sevana Shunila Ebi Shunathakural Atma Tantre Jinamati Vaishna Patala. I have already spoken to you of his service to the Lord. Now hear how the self-sufficient Anantadev exists in the lower planetary system of Patala. Shri Narada Goshai Tamburu Kari Sange Seyasha Gayana Brahma Stani Shloka Bande. Bearing his stringed instrument, the tumburu, on his shoulders, the great sage Narada Muni always glorifies Lord Ananta. Narada Muni has composed many transcendental verses in praise of the Lord. Shristi Stitri Palaya Sadvadijata Guna Yanre Drishti Pate Hoya Yaya Puna Puna. Simply due to the glance of Lord Ananta, the three modes of material nature interact and produce creation, maintenance, and annihilation. These modes of nature appear again and again. Advitiya Rupa Satya Anadi Mahatva Tatapi Ananta Hoya Kebuje Setatva. The Lord is glorified as one without a second, and as the Supreme Truth who has no beginning. Therefore he is called Anantadev, unlimited. Who can understand him? Shuddhasat Mamurti Prabhu Dhanina Karunaya Yavigrahe Savara Prakasha Shulilaya. His form is completely spiritual, and he manifests it only by his mercy. All the activities in this material world are conducted only in his form. Yanhara Tadanga Shiki Singa Mahabali Nija Jana Manuranje Haya Kutahali. He is very powerful and always prepared to please his personal associates and devotees. Ye Anandanamera Shabana Sankirtane Ye Te Mate Kinanahi Boli Ye Te Jane Ashesha Janmera Banda Jindi Se Krishane Atayeva Vaishnavadat Charikhabhutane. If we simply try to engage in the congregational chanting of the glories of Lord Anantadev, the dirty things in our hearts, accumulated during many births, will immediately be washed away. Therefore, a Vaishnava never loses an opportunity to glorify Anantadev. Sheshabai sansarera gati nahi ar Anantera name sarve jibira udar. Lord Anantadev is known as Shesha, the unlimited end, because he ends our passage through this material world. Simply by chanting his glories, everyone can be liberated. Ananta Prithivite Giri Samudra Sahite Ye Prabhu Dharina Giri Palina Karite. On his head, Ananta Dev sustains the entire universe with its millions of planets containing enormous oceans and mountains. Sahasra Panare Eka Panibindu Yena Ananta Vikramanat Janina Achahina. He is so large and powerful that this universe rests on one of his hoods, just like a drop of water. He does not know where it is. Sahasra Bandhani Krishna Yasha Nirantara Gaite Achchena Adideva Mahidara. While bearing the universe on one of his hoods, Anantadev chants the glories of Krishna with each of his thousands of mouths. Gaina Ananta Sri Yasharanahi Anta Jai Banga Nai Karu Donna Balavanta. Although he has been chanting the glories of Lord Krishna since time immemorial, he still has not come to their end. Adyapi Hashesha Devasa Hasra Shimuke Gaina Chaitanya Yasha Antanahi Deke. To this day, Lord Ananta continues to chant the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and still he finds no end to them. Text 10. This manifestation of subtle and gross matter exists within the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of causeless mercy toward his devotees. Pick the book up off the floor, because we put things on the. There you go. Thank you. This manifestation of subtle and gross matter exists within the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Out of causeless mercy toward his devotees, he exhibits various forms, which are all transcendental. The Supreme Lord is most liberal, and he possesses all mystic power to conquer the minds of his devotees and give pleasure to their hearts. He appears in different incarnations and manifests many pastimes. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has translated this verse as follows. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the cause of all causes. It is by his will that gross and subtle ingredients interact. He appears in various incarnations just to please the hearts of his pure devotees. For example, the Supreme Lord appeared in the transcendental incarnation of Lord Varaha, the boar, just to please his devotees by lifting the planet Earth from the Garbhodak ocean. Text 11. Even if he be distressed or degraded, any person who chants the holy name of the Lord, having heard it from a bona fide spiritual master, is immediately purified. Even if he chants the holy names jokingly or by chance, he and anyone who hears him are freed from all sins. Therefore, how can anyone seeking disentanglement from the material clutches avoid chanting the name of Lord Shesha? Of whom else should one take shelter? Text 12. Because the Lord is unlimited, no one can estimate his power. This entire universe, filled with its many great mountains, rivers, oceans, trees, and living entities, is resting just like an atom on one of his many thousands of hoods. Is there anyone, even with thousands of tongues, who can describe his glories? Text 13. There is no end to the great and glorious qualities of that powerful Lord Anantadev. Indeed, his prowess is unlimited. Though self-sufficient, he himself is the support of everything. He resides beneath the lower planetary systems and easily sustains the entire universe. Text 14. My dear King, as I have heard it from my spiritual master, I have fully described to you the creation of this material world, according to the fruitive activities and desires of the conditioned souls. Those conditioned souls who are full of material desires achieve various situations in different planetary systems, and in this way they live within this material creation. Purport. In this regard, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, Anadi karama pali, pari bhavanarva jale, taribari na deki upaya. My Lord, I do not know when I commenced my material life, but I can certainly experience that I have fallen in the deep ocean of nations. Now I can also see that there is no other way to get out of it than to take shelter of your lotus feet. Similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu offers the following prayer. Ainanda tanunja kinkaram patitam mam vishame bhavam budao kripaya tavapada pankaja stitaduli sadrisham pachintaya. My dear Lord, son of Nanda Maharaj, I am your eternal servant. Somehow or other, I have fallen into this ocean of nations. Kindly, therefore, save me from this horrible condition of materialistic life. Text 15. My dear King, I have thus described how people generally act according to their different desires, and as a result, get different types of bodies in higher or lower planets. You inquired of these things from me, and I have explained to you whatever I have heard from authorities. What shall I speak of now? Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 25th chapter of Srimad-Bhagavatam, entitled The Glories of Lord Ananta. Jai, Lord Ananta Dev Ki Jai. Here we go. Tie up your belt. 26. A description of the hellish planets. If you think it's hellish in some places here, you ain't seen nothing yet. The 26th chapter describes how a sinful man goes to different hells, where he is punished in various ways by the assistance of Yamaraj. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita 3:27, Prakrite kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvashaha ahankara vimudatma karta ham iti manyate. The bewildered spirit soul, under the influence of the three modes of material nature, thinks himself to be the doer of activities which are in actuality carried out by nature. The foolish person thinks he is independent of any law. He thinks there is no God or regulative principle, and that he can do whatever he likes. Thus he engages in different sinful activities, and as a result, he is put into different hellish conditions of life after life to be punished by the laws of nature. The basic principle of his suffering is that he foolishly thinks himself independent, although he is strictly under the control of the laws of material nature. These laws act due to the influence of the three modes of nature, and therefore each human being also works under three different types of influence. According to how he acts, he suffers different reactions in his next life or in this life. Religious persons act differently from atheists, and therefore they suffer different reactions. Shukadeva Goswami describes the following 28 hells: Tamisra, Undhatamisra, Raurava, Maharourava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asapatravana, Sukaramukha, Andakupa, Krimi Bojan, Sandangsha, Taptasurmi, Vajrakantaka, Shalmali, Vaitarani, Puyoda, Pranaroda, Vishana, Lalabaksha, Saramejadana, Avici, Ayapana, Charakardama, Rakshogana Bhojana, Shulaprota, Dandashuka, Avata Nirodhana, Prayavartana, and Suchimukha. A person who steals another's money, wife, or possessions is put into the hell known as Tamisra. A man who tricks someone and enjoys his wife is put into an extremely hellish condition known as Anda Tamisra. A foolish person absorbed in the bodily concept of life, who on the basis of this principle maintains himself or his wife and children by committing violence against other living entities, is put in the hell known as Rorava. There the animals he killed take birth as creatures called Rurus and cause great suffering for him. Those who kill different animals and birds and then cook them are put by the agents of Yamaraj into the hell known as Kumbhipaka, where they are boiled in oil. A person who kills a Brahmana is put into the hell known as Kalasutra, where the land, perfectly level and made of copper, is as hot as an oven. The killer of a Brahmana burns in that land for many years. One who does not follow scriptural injunctions, but who does everything whimsically or follows some rascal, is put into the hell known as Asipatravana. A government official who poorly administers justice or who punishes an innocent man is taken by the assistance of Yamaraj to the hell known as Sukaramukha, where he is mercilessly beaten. God has given advanced consciousness to the human being. Therefore, he can feel the suffering and happiness of other living beings. The human being, bereft of his conscience, however, is prone to cause suffering for other living beings. The assistance of Yamaraj puts such a person into the hell known as Andakupa, where he receives proper punishment from his victims. Any person who does not receive or feed a guest properly, but who personally enjoys eating, is put into the hell known as Krimi Bojan. There, an unlimited number of worms and insects continuously bite him. A thief is put into the hell known as Sandangsha. A person who has sexual relations with a woman who is not to be enjoyed is to put into the hell known as Taptasurmi. A person who enjoys sexual relations with animals is put into the hell known as Vajrakantaka, Shalmali. A person born into aristocratic or highly placed family. A person born into an aristocratic or highly placed family, but who does not act accordingly, is put into the hellish trench of blood, pus, and urine called the Vaitarani River. One who lives like an animal is put into the hell called Puyoda. A person who mercilessly kills animals in forest without sanction is put into the hell called Pranaroda. A person who kills animals in the name of religious sacrifice is put into the hell known as Vishasana. A man who forces his wife to drink his semen is put into the hell known as Lalabaksha. One who sets a fire or administers poison to kill someone is put into the hell known as Sarameyadana. A man who earns his livelihood by bearing false witness is put into the hell known as Avici. A person addicted to drinking wine is put into the hell named Ayapana. One who violates etiquette by not showing proper respect to superiors is put into the hell known as Charakardama. A person who sacrifices human beings to Bhairava is put into the hell called Rakshogana Bhojana. A person who kills pet animals is put into the hell known as Shulaprotra. A person who gives trouble to others is put into the hell known as Dandashuka. One who imprisons a living entity within a cave is put into the hell known as Avata Nirodhana. A person who shows unwarranted wrath toward a guest in his house is put into the hell called prayavartana. A person maddened by possessing riches and thus deeply absorbed in thinking of how to collect money is put into the hell known as Suchimukha. After describing the hellish planets, Shukadeva Goswami describes how pious persons are elevated to the highest planetary system where the demigods live, and how they then come back again to this earth when the results of their pious activities are finished. Finally, he describes the universal form of the Lord and glorifies the Lord's activities. Text 1, just in case you want to, that's a preview of coming attractions. Just in case you want to stick around for the movie. Here we go. Text 1. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear sir, why are the living entities put into different material situations? Kindly explain this to me." Purport. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the different hellish planets within this universe are held slightly above the Garbhodak ocean and remain situated there. This chapter describes how all sinful persons go to these hellish planets and how they are punished there by the assistance of Yamaraj. Different individuals with different bodily features enjoy or suffer various reactions according to their past deeds. Text 2. The great sage Shukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, in this material world there are three kinds of activities: those in the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance." Those in the mode of, because all people are influenced by the three modes of material nature, the results of their activities are also divided into three. One who acts in the mode of goodness is religious and happy. One who acts in passion achieves mixed misery and happiness. And one who acts under the influence of ignorance is always unhappy and lives like an animal. Because of the varying degrees to which the living entities are influenced by different modes of nature, their destinations are also of different varieties. Text 3. Just as by executing various pious activities, one achieves different positions in heavenly life, by acting impiously, one achieves different positions in hellish life. Those who are activated by the material mode of ignorance engage in impious activities, and according to the extent of their ignorance, they are placed in different grades of hellish life. If one acts in the mode of ignorance because of madness, his resulting misery is the least severe. One who acts impiously but knows the distinction between pious and impious activities is placed in a hell of intermediate severity. And for one who acts impiously and ignorantly because of atheism, the resultant hellish life is the worst. Because of ignorance, every living entity has been carried by different desires into thousands of different hellish planets since time immemorial. I shall try to describe them as far as possible. Text 4. King Parikshit inquired from Shukadeva Goswami, "My dear Lord, are the hellish regions outside the universe, within the covering of the universe, or in different places on this planet?" Text 5. The great sage Shukadeva Goswami answered, "All the hellish planets are situated in the intermediate space between the three worlds and the Garbhodak ocean. They lie on the southern side of the universe, beneath Bhumandala and slightly above the water of the Garbhodak ocean. Pitriloka is also located in this region between the Garbhodak ocean and the lower planetary systems. All the residents of Pitriloka, headed by Ashnivata, meditate in great samadhi on the Supreme Personality of Godhead and always wish their families well." Purport. As previously explained, Below our planetary system are 7 lower planetary systems, the lowest of which is called Pataloka. Patalaloka. Beneath Patalaloka are other planets known as Narakaloka, or the hellish planets. At the bottom of the universe lies the Garbhodak Ocean. Therefore the hellish planets lie between Patalaloka and the Garbhodak Ocean. Text 6. The king of the Pitas is Yamaraj, the very powerful son of the sun god. He resides in Pitriloka with his personal assistants, and, while abiding by the rules and regulations set down by the Supreme Lord, has his agents, the Yamadutas, bring all these sinful men to him immediately upon their death. After bringing them within his jurisdiction, he properly judges them according to their specific sinful activities and sends them to one of the many hellish planets for suitable punishments. Purport. Yamaraj is not a fictitious or mythological character. He has his own abode, Pitriloka, of which he is king. Agnostics may not believe in hell, but Shukadeva Goswami affirms the existence of the Naraka planets, which lie between the Garbhodak Ocean and Patalaloka. Yamaraj is appointed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead to see that the human beings do not violate his rules and regulations. As confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.17, Karmano yabi bodhavyam, bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha, akarmanash chibodhavyam, gahana karmano gatihi. The intricacies of action are very hard to understand. Therefore, one should know properly what action is, what forbidden action is, and what inaction is. One should understand the nature of karma, vikarma, and akarma. And one must act accordingly. This is the law of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The conditioned souls who have come to this material world for sense gratification are allowed to enjoy their senses under certain regulative principles. If they violate these regulations, they are judged and punished by Yamaraj. He brings them to the hellish planets and properly chastises them to bring them back to Krishna consciousness. By the influence of Maya, however, the conditioned souls remain infatuated with the mode of ignorance. Thus, in spite of repeated punishment by Yamaraj, they do not come to their senses, but continue to live within the material condition, committing sinful activities again and again. Text 7. Some authorities say that there are a total of 21 hellish planets, and some say 28. My dear king, I shall outline all of them according to their names, forms, and symptoms. The names of the different hells are as follows: Tamisra, Andatamisra, Raurava, Maharourava, Kumbhipaka, Kalasutra, Asapatravana, Asipatravana, Sukaramukha, Andakupa, Krimibojana, Sandangsha, Tapasurmi, Taptasurmi, Bhadrakantaka Shalmali, Vaitarani, Puyoda, Pranaroda, Vishisana, Lalabhaksha, Saramedhyana, Saramedhyadana, Avichi, Ayapana, Charakardama, Rakshogana Bhojana, Shulaprota, Dandashuka, Abadanirodhana, Paryavartana, and Suchimukhi. All these planets are meant for punishing the living entities. Text 8. My dear king, a person who appropriates another's legitimate wife, children, or money is arrested at the time of death by the fierce Yamadutas, who bind him with rope of time and forcibly throw him into the hellish planet known as Tamisra. On this very dark planet, the sinful man is chastised by the Yamadutas who beat and rebuke him. He is starved, and he is given no water to drink. Thus the wrathful assistance of Yamaraj cause him severe suffering, and sometimes he faints from their chastisement. Text 9. The destination of a person who slyly cheats another man and enjoys his wife and children is the hell known as Ananta. There his condition is exactly like that of a tree being chopped at its roots. Even before reaching Ananta, the sinful living being is subjected to various extreme miseries. These afflictions are so severe that he loses his intelligence and sight. It is for this reason that learned sages call this hell Ananta. Text 10. A person who accepts his body as his self works very hard day and night for money to maintain his own body and the bodies of his wife and children. While working to maintain himself and his family, he may commit violence against other living entities. Such a person is forced to give up his body and his family at the time of death, when he suffers the reaction for his envy of other creatures by being thrown into the hell called Raurava. Purport. In Srimad-Bhagavatam it is said, Yasyat vibhuti kunape tridatuke swadi kalatradi shubhauma ijadihi yat tirtha buddhi salile hakarhijij jane shabigesha saeva gokaraha. One who accepts this bodily bag of three elements, bile, mucus, and air, as his self, who has an affinity for an intimate relationship with his wife and children, who considers his land worshipable, and who takes bath in the waters of the holy places of pilgrimage, but never takes advantage of those persons who are in actual knowledge, is no better than an ass or a cow. Bhagavatam 10:84-13. There are two classes of men absorbed in the material conception of life. Out of ignorance, a man in the first class thinks his body to be a self, and therefore he is certainly like an animal, saeva gokaraha. The person in the second class, however, not only thinks his material body to be a self, but also commits all kinds of sinful activities to maintain his body. He cheats everyone to acquire money for his family and his self, and he becomes envious of others without reason. Such a person is thrown into the hell known as Raurava. If one simply considers his body to be a self, as do the animals, he is not very sinful. However, if one needlessly commits sins to maintain his body, he is put into the hell known as Raurava. This is the opinion of Srila Vishwanath Chakrabarti Thakur. Although animals are certainly in the bodily concept of life, they do not commit any sins to maintain their bodies, mates, or offspring. Therefore, animals do not go to hell. However, when a human being acts enviously and cheats others to maintain his body, he is put into a hellish condition. Text 11. In this life, an envious person commits violent acts against many living entities. Therefore, after his death, when he is taken to hell by Yamaraj, those living entities who were hurt by him appear as animals called rurus to inflict very severe pain upon him. Learned scholars call this hell Raurava. Not generally seen in this world, the ruru is more envious than a snake. Purport. According to Sridhar Swami, the ruru is also known as the Bhara Shringa. Atikrurasya Bhara Shringaikya Satvasya Apadesha Samya. Srila Jiva Goswami confirms this in his Sandarbha. Ruru Shabdasya Swayam Minimaiva Tika Vidanala Lokesh Aparsida Evayam Jantu Visheshaha. Thus, although rurus are not seen in this world, their existence is confirmed in the Shastras. Text 12. Punishment in the hell called Maharurava is compulsory for a person who maintains his own body by hurting others. In this hell, ruru animals known as Kravyada torment him and eat his flesh. Purport. The animalistic person who lives simply in the bodily concept of life is not excused. He is put into the hell known as Maharorava and attacked by Ruru, animals known as Kravyadas. I mean, we may think that these are some extreme, but I just read, when was it? A month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, there was an incredible story about a small kid, 8 years old, who just killed his playmate, and when asked why he did it, he said, I just wanted to see how it felt. So we'll find out in the next chapter that if you chant any of these things, and if you chant Hare Krishna purely, you never have to come back to this place again. The chant doesn't exist. Okay, it's worth it. Text 13. For the maintenance of their bodies and the satisfaction of their tongues, cruel persons cook poor animals and birds alive. Such persons are condemned even by man-eaters. In their next lives, they are carried by the Yamadutas to the hell known as Kumbhipaka, where they are cooked in boiling oil. Text 14. The killer of a Brahmana is put into the hell known as Kalasutra, which has a circumference of 80,000 miles and which is made entirely of copper. Heated from below by fire and from above by the scorching sun, the copper surface of this planet is extremely hot. Thus the murderer of a Brahmana suffers from being burned both internally and externally. Internally he is burning with hunger and thirst, and externally is burning from the scorching heat of the sun and the fire beneath the copper surface. Therefore he sometimes lies down, sometimes sits, sometimes stands up, and sometimes runs here and there. He must suffer in this way for as many thousands of years as there are hairs on the body of an animal. Text 15. You can make a blockbuster movie about this. Now this would really maybe scare people into doing the right thing. If a person deviates from the path of the Vedas in the absence of an emergency, the servants of Yamaraj put him into the hell called Asi Patravana, where they beat him with whips. When he runs hither and thither, fleeing from the extreme pain, on all sides he runs into palm trees with leaves like sharpened swords. Thus injured all over his body and fainting, at every step he cries out, "Oh, what shall I do now? How shall I be saved?" This is how one suffers who deviates from the accepted religious principles. So you should understand that this is all going on the subtle plane. This is not the gross body. This is the subtle body. Just like when you dream, sometimes horrible things will happen to you. And it doesn't last as long as it seems in gross time. But it seems like it does. So it might as well be that. Purport. There is actually only one religious principle. Dharmam tu sakshad bhagavat pranitam. The only religious principle is to follow the orders of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, especially in this age of Kali, everyone is an atheist. People do not even believe in God, what to speak of following his words. The words Nija Veda Pata can also mean one's own set of religious principles. Formerly there was only one Vedapata, or set of religious principles. Now there are many. It doesn't matter which set of religious principles one follows. The only injunction is that he must follow them strictly. An atheist, or Nastika, is one who does not believe in the Vedas. However, even if one takes up a different system of religion, according to this verse, he must follow the religious principles he has accepted. Whether one is a Hindu, or a Mohammedan, or a Christian, he should follow his own religious principles. However, if one concocts his own religious path within his mind, or if one follows no religious principles at all, he is punished in the hell known as Asi Patravana. In other words, a human being must follow some religious principles. If he does not follow any religious principles, he is no better than an animal. As Kali Yuga advances, people are becoming godless and taking up so-called secularism. They do not know the punishment awaiting them in Asi Patravana, as described in this verse. Text 16. In his next life, a sinful king or governmental representative who punishes an innocent person or who inflicts corporal punishment upon a brahmana is taken by the Yamadutas to the hell named Sukramukha, where the most powerful assistants of Yamaraj crush him, exactly as one crushes sugarcane to squeeze out the juice. The sinful living entity cries very pitiably and faints, just like an innocent man undergoing punishments. This is the result of punishing a faultless person. Text 17. By the arrangement of the Supreme Lord, low-grade living beings like bugs and mosquitoes suck the blood of human beings and other animals. Such insignificant creatures are unaware that their bites are painful to the human being. However, first-class human beings, brahmanas, kshatriyas, and vaishyas, are developed in consciousness, and therefore they know how painful it is to be killed. A human being endowed with knowledge certainly commits sin if he kills or torments insignificant creatures who have no discrimination. The Supreme Lord punishes such a man by putting him into the hell known as Andakupa, where he is attacked by all the birds and beasts, reptiles, mosquitoes, lice, worms, flies, and any other creatures he tormented during his life. They attack him from all sides, robbing him of the pleasure of sleep. Unable to rest, he constantly wanders about in the darkness. Thus in Andakupa, his suffering is just like that of a creature in the lower species. Tailor-made. Purport. From this very instructive verse, we learn that lower animals created by the laws of nature to disturb the human being are not subjected to punishment. Because the human being has developed consciousness, however, he cannot do anything against the principles of Varnashram Dharma without being condemned. Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita 4.13, Chatur Varnyam Yashistam Gunakarma Vivagashaha. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, the four divisions of human society were created by me. Thus all men should be divided into four classes, Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras, and they should act according to their ordained regulations. They cannot deviate from their prescribed rules and regulations. One of these states that they should never trouble any animal, even those that disturb human beings. Although a tiger is not sinful if he attacks another animal and eats its flesh, if a man with developed consciousness does so, he must be punished. In other words, a human being who does not use his developed consciousness, but instead acts like an animal, surely undergoes punishment in many different hells. Text 18. A person is considered no better than a crow if after receiving some food he does not divide it among guests, old men and children, but simply eats it himself, or if he eats it without performing the 5 kinds of sacrifice. After death he is put into the most abominable hell, known as Krimi Bhojana. In that hell is a lake 100,000 yojanas, 800,000 miles wide, and filled with worms. He becomes a worm in that lake and feeds on the other worms there, who also feed on him. Unless he atones for his actions before his death, such a sinful man remains in the hellish lake of Krimi Bhojana for as many years as there are yojanas in the width of the lake. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 3.13, Yagya Shishtak Sanatsanto Muchante Sarvakil Pishahi Bunjate Te Tukam Papa Ye Pachantyat Makaranat. The devotees of the Lord are released from all kinds of sins because they eat food which is first offered for sacrifice. Others, who prepare food for personal sense enjoyment, verily eat only sin. All food is given to us by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Eko Pahunam Yo Vididati Kaman. The Lord supplies everyone with the necessities of life. Therefore we should acknowledge His mercy by performing yajna, sacrifice. This is the duty of everyone. Indeed, the sole purpose of life is to perform yajna. According to Krishna, Bhagavad Gita 3:9, Yagyartat karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha tadakam karma konteya muktasanga samachara. Work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed. Otherwise, work binds one to this material world. Therefore, O son of Kunti, perform your prescribed duties for his satisfaction, and in that way, you will always remain unattached and free from bondage. If we do not perform yajna and distribute prasad to others, our lives are condemned. Only after performing yajna and distributing the prasad to all dependents, children, brahmanas, and old men, should one eat. However, one who cooks only for himself or his family is condemned, along with everyone he feeds. After death, he is put into the hell known as Krimi Bhojana. Text 19. My dear king, a person who in the absence of an emergency robs a brahmana, or indeed anyone else, of his gems and gold, is put into a hell known as Sandangsha. There his skin is torn and separated by red-hot iron balls and tongs. In this way his entire body is cut to pieces. Text 20. A man or woman who indulges in sexual intercourse with an unworthy member of the opposite sex is punished after death by the assistance of Yamaraj in the hell known as Tapta Surmi. There such men and women are beaten with whips. The man is forced to embrace a red-hot iron form of a woman, and the woman is forced to embrace a similar form of a man. Such is the punishment for illicit sex. Purport. Generally, a man should not have sexual relations with any woman other than his wife. According to Vedic principles, the wife of another man is considered one's mother, and sexual relations are strictly forbidden with one's mother, sister, and daughter. If one indulges in illicit sexual relations with another man's wife, that activity is considered identical with having sex with one's mother. This act is most sinful. The same principle holds for a woman also. If she enjoys sex with a man other than her husband, the act is tantamount to having sexual relations with her father or son. Illicit sex life is always forbidden, then any man or woman who indulges in it is punished in the manner described in this verse. Text 21. A person who indulges in sex indiscriminately, even with animals, is taken after death to the hell known as Vajrakantaka Shalmali. In this hell there is a silk cotton tree full of thorns as strong as thunderbolts. The agents of Yamaraj hang the sinful man on that tree and pull him down forcefully so that the thorns very severely tear his body. Purport. The sexual urge is so strong that sometimes a man indulges in sexual relations with a cow, or a woman indulges in sexual relations with a dog. Such men and women are put into the hell known as Vajrakantaka Shalmali. The Krishna consciousness movement forbids illicit sex. From the description of these verses, we can understand what an extremely sinful act illicit sex is. Sometimes people disbelieve these descriptions of hell, but whether one believes or not, everything must be carried out by the laws of nature, which no one can avoid. Text 22. A person who is born into a responsible family, such as a Kshatriya, a member of the royalty, or a government servant, but who neglects to execute his prescribed duties according to religious principles, and who thus becomes degraded, falls down at the time of death into the river of hell known as Vaitarani. This river, which is a moat surrounding hell, is full of ferocious aquatic animals. When a sinful man is thrown into the river Vaitarani, the aquatic animals there immediately begin to eat him. But because of his sinful activities, extremely sinful life, he does not leave his body. He constantly remembers his sinful activities and suffers terribly in that river, which is full of stool, urine, blood, pus, blood, hair, nails, bones, marrow, flesh, and fat. Text 23. The shameless husbands of low-born Shudra women live exactly like animals, and therefore they have no good behavior, cleanliness, or regulated life. After death, such persons are thrown into the hell called Puyoda, where they are put into an ocean filled with pus, stool, urine, mucus, saliva, and similar things. Shudras who could not improve themselves fall into that ocean and are forced to eat those disgusting things. Purport. Shilanautam Das Thakur is sung, Karmakanda Jnanakanda, Kevala Vishadabanda, Amrita Balya Kemokhaya, Nanayoni Sarapide, Kandarya Bhakshana Kare, Tara Janma Adak Patayaya. He says that persons following the paths of Karmakanda and Jnanakanda, fruitive activities and speculative thinking, are missing the opportunities for human birth and gliding down into the cycle of birth and death. Thus there is always the chance that he may be put into the Puyoda Naraka, the hell named Puyoda, where one is forced to eat stool, urine, pus, mucus, saliva, and other abominable things. It is significant that this verse is spoken especially about Shudras. If one is born a Shudra, he must continually return to the ocean of Puyoda to eat horrible things. Thus, even a born Shudra is expected to become a Brahmana. That is the meaning of human life. Everyone should improve himself. Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4:13, Chaturvarnya maya shristam, guna karma vibhagashaha. According to the three modes of material nature and the work ascribed to them, 4 divisions of human society were created by me. Even if one is by qualification a Shudra, he must try to improve his position and become a Brahmana. No one should try to check a person, no matter what his present position is, from coming to the platform of a Brahmana or a Vaishnava. Actually, one must come to the platform of a Vaishnava. Then he automatically becomes a Brahmana. This can be done only in the Krishna consciousness movement. This can be done only if the Krishna consciousness movement is spread. For we are trying to elevate everyone to the platform of Vaishnava. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 1866, Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Braja. Abandon all other duties and simply surrender unto me. One must give up all occupational duties of a Shudra, Kshatriya, or Vaishya, and adopt the occupational duties of a Vaishnava, which include the activities of a Brahmana. Krishna explains this in Bhagavad Gita 9:32. Mami partha vipashritya yepisyu papayonaya striyo vaishyas tata shudras tepiyanti padam gatim. O son of Pritha, those who take shelter in me, though they be of lower birth, women, Vaishyas, merchants, as well as Shudras, workers, can attain the supreme destination. Human life is specifically meant for going back home, back to Godhead. That facility should be given to everyone, whether one be a Shudra, a Vaishya, a woman, or a Kshatriya. This is the purpose of the Krishna consciousness movement. However, if one is satisfied to remain a Shudra, he must suffer as described in this verse. Tad evati vatsitam ashnanti. Hare Krishna. It's a little sobering, I'd say. Wouldn't you? Oh yeah. We'll start up with text 24 tomorrow. Hare Krishna. So I was just, every single day, I don't know if you're aware of it, many of you probably don't even keep track of what's going on. I keep track because I sometimes travel and I like to know what's going on. I don't like to go just blindly into places. And every single day now, there's 5 to 10 horrific stories of people doing horrific things to them. When I was raised, 1950s, that's a long time ago, you never heard of any of these things. I mean, maybe once in every, isn't it? Once every few years or something like that. Now it's common every day, and it's going worse. That's why we're here, and that's why we have to help bring people up. First of all, bring ourselves up and live pure lives, and by that example, and by our compassion, by giving prasadam, teaching people to chant Hare Krishna, read these books so they can find out what's going on here. Hare Krishna. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox now. So sobering, shocked. Everybody's just shocked. They don't know what to say now. Not me. Okay. Yes, Sarva. Sarva is our local saint. He's above these things and he can talk even after he's heard all these things.
We hear that when Lord Sri Krishna left the planet, he manifested as the Srimad-Bhagavatam. So, and also Sanatana Goswami mentions that every syllable of the Bhagavatam pours down a flood of nectar, prema. So somehow, even though these words are very sobering and shocking on one level, because it's the Bhagavatam, I'm trying to understand how, because in the Bhagavatam it's spoken by Shukadeva Goswami and great saints, how it's different from, because normally if you read of a hellish murder or something, there's no good that comes out of it, but because it's in the Bhagavatam, it's instructive somehow and uplifting. So,
well, it's not just somehow, it's
in other words, for me it's somehow, but if you can explain it more clearly.
well, it leads, everything leads to proper behavior and proper activity and inspiration. Inspiration to get out of the complexities of material existence and want to go back home, back to Godhead, and want to help other people come back to Godhead. So even though it's a fact that in the Bhagavatam there are stories of, even in the hellish, in the heavenly planets, so many things are going on that are not seemingly blissful and spiritual, but they always lead to the lesson. The Bhagavatam's complete. It sometimes explains to us what not to do. In order to be fixed, you have to know what to do and what not to do. That's in the Ishopanishad verse. I can't remember the Sanskrit. You have to understand side by side what to do and what not to do. And that fixes us in determination. Because in order to actually live in this world and come out of the modes of material nature, which are very strong, and they're so strong that they make people who are doing these kinds of things enjoy doing these kinds of things. And that's why these punishments are so severe. But we're going to hear now in the 6th canto, because it's all fit together. You can't take any one or two verses or a few verses. You have to take the whole thing in sequence and in context with one another. So next canto, we're going to find out about Ajamil. One of the first stories we hear about in the 6th canto is Ajamil, who turned out to be very sinful, even though he was born in a Brahmana family, and but somehow or other, he named his youngest son. He had a son when he was 88. You have to be pretty sinful to have a son when you're 88. Pretty lusty. And so therefore he was very attached to his son. So he named his son, because he was trained when he was a young boy, he was a Brahmana, and he was trained. So he named his son Narayana. And because he was, for the last years of his life, when his son came into his life, he was always saying, Narayana, come here, Narayana, do this, Narayana, do that. So even though he didn't know he was saying, he had forgotten. Material nature is so powerful, he forgot. But nonetheless, he was always chanting the name of Narayana. And because he wasn't doing it in order to purify himself from sin, he was just doing it. then it worked. It was nam-bas. It was clearing stage chanting, even though he was doing sinful activities at the same time. And therefore, when he came time for him to leave his body, and these Yamadutas came to take him to these places, and he called out Narayana because he wanted his son to come so he could see him. And the Vishnudutas came and stopped them from taking him. Anyway, that's a whole story. Now then we'll hear about Yamaraj and how he instructed his servants, the Yamadutas, not to touch, not even to look at persons who have chanted the holy names of the Lord. So yes, everything is there in order to inspire us to take to the right thing. Nothing's taken out of context, Yes, Bhakti Doug.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna Bhakti Doug.
So you were speaking earlier about these types of sufferings in these hellish planets take place on a subtle level.
Yes.
But it's explaining also that those living entities that go there are in bodies. So what is do we go in the same body that we
It's your
have
subtle
in this
body.
life? Okay.
It's your subtle body. It's the body you dream in.
Okay. But so would we be able to see our...
Yeah,
or
there's a
things
very, it's described in other places, in other Puranas, that there's a very subtle covering that's put over the subtle body. But it's still subtle.
Okay.
Yes, Marcus.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So one of the last texts we read mentioning how the Shudras are essentially, if one acts like a Shudra, he's relegated to that hellish planet. But what of that person that's born a Shudra who performs his duty with unfaltering faith in his duty, and he's doing the best he can with the position that he's given, or
then he stays here and he becomes a Shudra again. He doesn't have to go to the hellish planets.
Okay.
But he still has to, it's risky.
Yeah.
It's risky because if you are born Shudra, or everyone's born Shudra now, practically, maybe not everyone, but most are born Shudra, and therefore you have to live in an environment where the material energy is very strong, the temptations to do sinful activities are very strong. Now look what the kids are having to see.
Mm-hmm.
They've got these violent games, and now they're making rules to keep kids off of what they call screens when they're 5 years old, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5. They start right off staying on the screen and seeing all these horrible things. And so everything that goes into your senses go into your subtle body and make impressions in your subtle body. So therefore when you grow up, you just naturally want to do those things. That's the way material nature works. So we shouldn't think, I'm innocent, this person's a kid, little boy's innocent. He's not innocent. Nobody who comes into this material world is completely innocent. We don't know what we've done in the previous lifetime to others. So we shouldn't be sentimental, We should call it like it is. We should see things like it is. When people act in such horrific ways, why should you wonder whether or not they're going to get punished when they leave this world, leave the body? There's no accidents. Everything's going on by obvious laws of nature. This is the descriptions of the laws of nature, how they work. If you do these things, this is what you have to look forward to. And people who are ignorant of this knowledge, they don't know. They just do it. They have restaurants in these, some Asian countries. They have restaurants. Well, they'll cook the thing you're going to eat right in front of your eyes, alive. They have one where they have this monkey, and they just cut the top head of the monkey right in front of you, and you can eat the brains of the monkey. And they think it's a delicacy. They think it's wonderful. When some devotees went to Burma, Prabhupada tells the story. In Burma, they have a special kind of festival, and they make these preparations. And anything that crawls, if it dies, they put it into this jar on their porch, and they just keep putting things. It stays for years and years. And then every once in a while they have a festival, and they bring this out, and they eat it like a chutney. And when the devotees went to this place, they were cooking, with ghee and spices and everything smelled. And to them, it smelled horrible. Modes of nature. The modes of nature force us to do these things. And we think, when we're in a really low mode of nature, we think it's nice. I always tell the story. When I was living in Kansas City, we opened that preaching center, and we had this little boy that lived next door to us, little black boy, and he was very nice boy. He was attached to the kirtans, and he was always hanging around, taking prasadam. So one time I ran out of butane, propane, butane, whatever it was. We were cooking with butane. And I had to go, so he came over and he said, Can I go? And I said, go ask your mother. So she said, okay. So he came with me, and we got in the van, and we went towards the place to get the bed. And I made a wrong turn. By mistake, I made a wrong turn. And we started going towards the slaughterhouse. Kansas City's got one of the largest slaughterhouses in the world. And we got, it was very far away, but it was so, the smell was so overwhelming. I couldn't breathe. So I took a big breath, held my breath, turned the car around, drove to Rolla, and just made a U-turn right in the middle, and just went as fast as I could, as far as I could. And finally I took a breath, and I was safe, and I looked at the little boy, and I said, "Wow, did you smell that?" And he said, "What? Smell what?" He didn't smell it. Then I realized these are the modes of nature.
It happened to me one time. I had a similar experience. I wanted to get on this plane so I can take photos, and once I did, because I was working on beating the fear of flying because I never flew before, and once I flew co-pilot, and we went near Galveston area, and all the stuff that's going on over there in the factories, it smelled so bad. I had it man, I was ready to puke. It was Devil's Kitchen for real.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so that's what the material nature is, and that's what these books are so important to hear all the way through, because then we get educated. We get educated what's actually the modes of nature are, and so we can, as they say, straighten up and fly right. Yes, Shobha.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, sometimes, we kill things at home, like roaches, spiders, and in the garden, when you're digging, you kill so many innocent things.
You can't help it. Therefore you have to do yajna. Therefore you have to do sacrifices. Therefore we worship the deities. Therefore we offer our food to Krishna. Therefore we chant Hare Krishna. When we do things like that innocently without knowing, it is sinful, yes, but that's what yajna is for. It's to purify us from those reactions.
But sometimes we do it we want to keep our home clean, so we spray stuff, by knowingly we do.
Think twice. Do the best you can. You can't avoid it. You can't avoid it. Even if you don't spray those things, or even if you do spray them, you can't avoid it completely. But if you chant Hare Krishna sincerely, rise above the modes of nature, then you won't become. You're not responsible. That's why it's so important to get serious, and follow the regular principles and chant your rounds strictly. And then the previous acharyas, your spiritual master and the previous acharyas and Krishna within your heart, they will help you, will help us. Yes, cyberspace speaks again.
Rati Manjari.
Hey Rati.
Dear Srila Guru Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances. Tonight we heard that people who kill their pets go to a special hell. Does that mean that pet owners who put their pet animal down in case of old age and sickness go to hell? Could you give advice on how to respond when someone asks whether it is okay to put a dear pet who is suffering down?
You know, we don't have license to cause another living entity to die. It's not, you know, it's like now they have medical facilities, technology, and they keep people in their bodies way after they should have left. And they kept keeping their bodies for what? And they're suffering like anything. And they just keep in their bodies long, and they think that they're doing them a favor. So it works both ways.
They even have that for people now who are like terminally ill, or like people who are paralyzed from their waist down or something, and they think that they're suffering. They can give them an option to die early.
Yeah, they're starting to pass laws like that. You know, what can I say? If a person decides to do that, then they have to take a ghostly body the next life and go through something even worse, because nobody knows what the laws of nature are, because they're not educated. There's no spiritual education. So it's not enough just to say, well, what about this? And what about this? And what about that? And what about this? No, learn ourselves what to do, act like it, and teach it, so that human society gradually become educated as to what the laws of nature are. People don't know what the laws of nature are. They don't even believe that there's a next life. Even educated, highly educated professors, they just think there's nothing after life, everything's finished. After death, everything's finished. Why are you so worried? And that just, what's the word, exacerbates the situation even more and causes people to act in abominable ways without thinking about it, because they don't believe. They're Nastika, they're faithless.
Rati has another question.
Yeah.
Did I interrupt you?
Say that again?
Did I interrupt you?
No.
We heard of different hells, each meant for a particular sin, but often sinful persons have committed many different sins. Does that mean that a sinful person has to go to many hells?
They get to go on a tour.
Oh.
I mean, up here they get to tour the pilgrimage places up here, and they get to tour other places down there. Tour bus, you know, it's your tour bus is waiting. What? Torture bus.
She has one more question.
Go ahead.
What use is it to have to experience these types of sufferings when we are not aware what we have done, and after suffering all these tribulations?
It doesn't. It does, right? It says right in the verses, you are aware of what you've done. You remember. Why are you saying it? You know, this is the atheist. There's no witness, so therefore, why should I be punished? Krishna's there. He's the witness. He knows what you've done. Just like when you're a child, you may have done something, you know, and caused a scar on your body or something that you did, and you can't remember it. But if the mother, father was there, they can tell you, yeah, you did like this, and therefore you've got that scar on your head. Just because you can't remember it doesn't mean that somebody doesn't remember or doesn't know. This philosophy is just trying to avoid responsibility. Take responsibility, and you can't take responsibility if you don't know what responsibility is. This is the great mercy of Srila Prabhupada for bringing these scriptures, the great mercy of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, the previous acharyas, Lord Brahma, the Vedas. It's all there. It's all there. And it always has been. But sometimes it gets covered and sometimes it gets awakened. but it's always there. It's like in the sky, and there's always stars, but we can't see them when the sun is out because the glare of the sun covers the glare of the stars. Kalpataru. Kalpataru is going back to Godhead because she serves such nice prasad. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. No, I just wondered, after suffering through these hellish you go through, like we said, tour, then person gets another body, right? And then they suffer more.
Well, there isn't one law that everybody does exactly the same thing. Some souls are in a human body, and then they go to this place, right? And the reason they get tortured like that is because their next body, they're meant to go into the body of an animal or some lower species. And their subtle body, they won't accept it. So they get put into condition that it's so bad that they will just, yes, I'll take it. Just get me out of here. It's just a gross example, but it's kind of like that. Prabhupada told us, if you're normally in a human subtle body, you won't want to take the body of a snake or a body of a scorpion or a body of a whatever. So you get into these places, and you get to the point where you say, yeah, anything, just get me out of here. And then you can go into this other kind of body, and then you get covered by that body. And in that body, the subtle body is formed or shaped in such a way as you can take these lower births. So you get punished for the things that you've done wrong as a human being. We already read in here that the animals, they don't actually take sinful reactions for what they do. But if you're in a human subtle body and you don't want to go there, but you have to go there by the law of nature. So you're put into these conditions. Not only do you get punished for the things that you've done that have caused suffering to others, and this is the point, this isn't sentimental. You cause so much, when you cause that much suffering to other living beings, you have to pay. And we can see it just in life in general. If you are a good person and you treat people nicely, then in general what comes back to you is nice. And if you're always cantankerous and you're always causing suffering to others, you suffer. You can see it in the people's faces now. Just go to any airport and just look around, and you'll see all the bodies being prepared right there in front of your eyes, Yes, Sarva. This is it. You get the last word.
One thing that seemed very fair was it talked about government officials or law enforcement officials who condemn an innocent person, that they also get punished, because sometimes in this world there's police or government people that exploit certain classes of people, and they sometimes punish people unfairly.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
And our human laws are very imperfect, so it does seem good that someone that exploits their position will get some punishment.
Yes.
For their own record.
But it's like that with everything.
Yeah.
But that's right. That will make more sense to some people. But I mean, the leader of a planet, or the leader of a country, or the leader of a dynasty or whatever, they'll get the sixth of the pious activities if they perform their duty properly and train the citizens to be pious and religious. They'll get a sixth of the pious activities of all those persons, and they immediately go to a higher place. Just by doing. But if they don't, then they get a sixth of all the sinful reactions of all the people underneath them. Oh.
Someone said that when someone becomes president of the United States or some big country, just in 8 years or 4 years, they really age a lot.
Oh yeah, you can see it. You can literally see it. Okay, we're going to close shop tomorrow. We'll have one more day of the 5th canto, and then we'll go into the 6th canto and find out how to, counteract all these things. All right, Srimad-Bhagavatam ki jai, Chikadev Goswami ki jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Gaur Premanandi, Hari, see you sitting.